Thanks for tuning in to this game day edition of Jets FM on EOFN as the season kicks off in a little bit more than 3 hours from now here in Carolina, where I live. Way east, though. Way east. That's like if you're in Jersey and you actually had to drive to, I don't know, maybe somewhere in Delaware or what's south of Jersey?
Pennsylvania, Delaware.
Yeah. So it's not an easy trip. Anyway, Jan, it is game day. Psyched? Or are you a little bit too tired to be psyched just yet?
No, I'm psyched. I mean, like I said, we've been through this road a couple of times already. So,
well, this is a new era. This is Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh in the same day.
I guess the question is going to be how many news are we going to get to before we finally stop talking about the new era, right?
Yeah, it's going to probably be half the season.
You have to talk it. I have to be cautiously optimistic. Like I think, if we step back, I think most of us, at least a lot of us, wanted Saleh to be the coach, right? And there was a lot of hand
we got him.
when he left the building and wasn't signed and what was going on, and they got him, right? And then the question was who was going to be when we lost out on the tank for Trevor sweepstakes and ended up with the number 2 pick, who we were going to get, and still questions as to whether or not you got the right guy. But given what we've seen this preseason and given what we've heard about Wilson, the belief and the expectation is hopefully they got it right. Although, look, we've said that a lot. We said that with Sam Darnold. I know Mark Sanchez got made fun of. Look, if Zach Wilson can lead the Jets to 2 AFC title games in back-to-back years, and this time hopefully win one of them, I think we'll all be skipping very happy associated with it. So I think we are cautiously optimistic.
By the way, this is not about being optimistic about, hey, we're going to kick Carolina's ass today.
No.
That's not what that's about.
No, it's great. Look,
this is still a 5 or 6 win team more than likely.
Right. So the expectation is the growth from the 10 or so first and second year guys that are in the lineup. I mean, that's a huge component of your probably starting lineup that's out there right now, and a huge component of your roster overall. And the hope we felt is, and the hope is, as the year progresses, you start to see that these guys are going to be key components and cogs for the future, not just for this year, but we're thinking more long term in terms of, okay, can what we see this year give us hope and raise expectations and beliefs for what we're going to see in the future based upon what kind of production we got out of them this year?
And it all starts, again, Sam Darnold and Carolina. And that scares me because and not because I think Sam Darnold's going to have a good season, because I don't. I just think that when he looks back, his best game is probably going to be this game, because that's just the way it is. It goes up against your former team. I think it's going to go either way. I think he's either going to have a great game, or he's going to just we're going to embarrass him. I don't think it's going to be in between. That's my guess. And matter of fact, I actually picked up Robbie Anderson in my regular fantasy league, not of course the dynasty league. You have Sam Darnold in the dynasty league.
I do.
What other Jets do you have in the dynasty league?
It's a good. I think I have Carter, if I'm not mistaken.
You have Michael Carter?
I think I grabbed Michael. I think I have to go back and look. I'm in so many different leagues right now. It's kind of hard to keep track.
Because I just picked up Ty Johnson in our dynasty league.
Right, I saw that.
Big surprise, right?
Yeah, big surprise. I'm surprised you didn't draft him to begin with, given how much you were talking about him.
I needed to see some preseason games first, just to be sure. And I have Elijah Moore, and you have Zach Wilson.
I think I have Corey Davis. I can tell you in a second.
Yeah, you have Zach Wilson, which is the biggest one of all. I definitely have Wilson.
Right, and I also have Mac Jones in that league, so I've kind of stocked myself.
Yes, you did a very good job with the young quarter. You're set now for the next. You don't have to draft another young quarterback in our dynasty league.
I do have Corey Davis in that league.
Okay,
that's it.
Very good.
That's the only other Jet. I have Wilson and Davis.
Because the way it looks, to tell you the truth, Corey Davis is going to be the number 1 receiver for the Jets this year. That's just I'm not going to. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
And my Gus Edwards pick clearly doesn't look as good right now.
No, that kind you had something going there for 2 weeks, and that was about it. Yeah.
Yes, but Corey Davis definitely should be the number 1 there. Okay. I don't think there's any doubt that right now he's clearly the number 1 there. So I think the thing we're looking for is to see a Wilson build chemistry with the young receivers, but a lot of that starts up front, right? It's the offensive line.
Absolutely.
All right, so We all know Mekhi Becton did not have a particularly good
No,
preseason.
no.
Injuries again, which has been unfortunately was the hallmark of his year last year,
Yep,
interspiced with really good play.
yep.
He clearly Carl Lawson, unfortunately, was gone for the year, was beating the living tar out of him in
Which is
practices. Then
actually
we went up
good.
right, and then we went
Humble
up
him,
against
give him a
then we went
beating,
up against Green Bay in terms of some scrimmages, and Preston Smith was beating the living tar out of him.
which is
And then
good. Beat him up, humble him.
Becton got hurt. So clearly, you don't go as opposed to last season when we went in thinking Becton was the guy, right? There has to be some questions and some doubts given what we've seen this preseason, and also given the injury history he had last year. But we all believe I think the talent is still there. Hopefully, Vera Tucker, who pretty much missed the entire preseason with an injury,
That's the key.
ends up being solid next to him. So now you have two. Hopefully, you have the left side of your line set. You have McGovern, you have Fant, and then you have Moses potentially, right? And you hope that the play this year is a heck of a lot better than it was last year.
So, have they made a final decision as far as the right side of the line?
I think it's nothing official has come out. I mean, I think it's.
Are they going to go Van Routen and either Fant or Moses, or are they thinking about moving Fant inside?
I think it's going to be Van Routen and Fant or Moses. I personally think it's going to be Moses who gets the nod initially, just given the pedigree and given I wouldn't say the excitement, but the view of when they first signed him that they thought they got a guy who can definitely pencil in there.
And you know what? That's also a good idea because especially with Becton's status, you probably want Fant just in case he needs to go in for a few series to give Becton a rest.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to have him keep swapping back and forth.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. That's probably the way it goes. Okay, but yeah, the offensive line, look, that's until the Jets figure out the right side of the line for sure long term, it's not going to be set. The hope is the left side is set. That's the hope. But there's still a couple of years to go of drafting and so forth. But look, Carolina's got a good defense, and they got some talented players up front, including Brian Burns. And I would guess that they are going to attack the Jets, especially on the left side early. When you have a rookie who hasn't had a lot of snaps with a second-year guy who's been banged up and out of bad camp, and even though they played a lot of snaps early in the spring, it's been a long time since the spring. So they're going to come after him early. That's just a guess, and it's up to Zach to hopefully get the jitters out of the way early. And I got to believe Sam's going to have jitters too. I think the jitters are going to be there for Sam early. So it might be an ugly first quarter. Might be an ugly first half, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
be an ugly game.
Look, Darnold is looking to rebuild his reputation, rebuild his status around the league. In addition, he's only signed, I think, for this year. Right, so he's looking also to parlay that into a longer-term deal potentially.
I don't know. Did they give him? Did they extend him?
They extended him. Sorry, they extended him for one more. But still, it was just let him go after the season, as we've seen. Right,
yeah,
so
anybody can do that. Yeah.
I mean, the question is he needs to basically prove to them that he is a potential long-term option there. Right, they have this talent around him. You got C-Mac at running back, who's a handful, and C-Mac is looking to regain his status after missing a good part of
Jets have got to stop him.
You got Robbie Anderson, who is going to love going against his old team and trying to beat his old team. And, I'm a big DJ Moore fan. So you have DJ Moore as another receiver also there. So there definitely is some talent offensively there in Carolina. The question is, clearly, who's the trigger man? Can Darnold prove he's the trigger man?
This is why the Jets built the team the way they did. It's about pressure. They have got to pressure Darnold. If Darnold stands in the pocket and is protected and has time to throw, Jets are in trouble this week and every week. So they've got to apply pressure, get these kids as many reps as possible in the regular season to get in the secondary. So they get used to playing because they are outmatched. We know that in the secondary. If Darnold has time to throw, it's not going to be pretty. By the way, what I was trying to say before is I drafted Robbie Anderson in my other league. And I was just going to, it was a bargain. It was late. And then my lineup this week, I was like, he's not one of my top players, but I have to put him in. Come on. You would think Robbie Anderson is going to make at least one big play today, at least.
And it wouldn't be shocking if Darnold targets him fairly early to, A, get him involved, and B, as a way to kind of show it to the Jets in terms of what they could have had, because that could have been the combination there for a while.
It could have been.
Panned out.
But look, no more.
Douglas has been Douglas has been very vocal in terms of he misread the market, which He's
Okay.
admitted to, right? He misread the market, and that's how Anderson ended up
And
leaving. And
he's no
Anderson
longer
did,
here now. So good for him.
yeah.
Best of
Well,
luck for
again,
Robbie Anderson.
it's not just individual to Anderson; it's the market as a whole, right? It's more
Hey,
so the
everybody makes
analysis, which we've talked
mistakes.
about a lot.
Everybody. That's why we say whenever these GMs, the coaches, the quarterbacks come in, you have to give them time because what do we say? They're gonna make mistakes. And the key is, do you learn from your mistakes? So far, that's the only mistake he's made in free agency. He hasn't made any other mistakes. So I'm okay with that. You're going to make one mistake, fine. It's Robbie Anderson. To tell you the truth, I know you like him more than I do. I could care less, especially now that we have Davis and Moore. I could care less. That's Carolina's player, as is Sam Darnold. As far as the team, a few more things I want to talk about because we haven't talked since after the roster was put together. And that is, well, first of all, Crowder's on COVID, so he's out. I don't consider that a big deal. The only thing with Cole banged up, that moves Berrios into the lead slot role along with Elijah Moore. So it'll be interesting to see, since we haven't really seen Moore. So it'll be interesting to see how much playing time Berrios and Moore kind of counter each other. And this is an opportunity for Denzel Mims to step up.
No, and that's the piece that I was waiting for you to talk about, right? So Mims underwhelmed early in camp for sure, and there was questions as to whether or not he'd even make the roster at some point in time. Though I think we both thought that was probably a fallacy. But yeah, he now has the opportunity with Crowder out to see additional snaps, to get the opportunity to prove that he wasn't a waste of a second round pick. You said Moore and Davis is clearly the 1 and 2. You got Berrios, you have Mims that'll be in there. So I'm interested to kind of see how much playing time Mims gets, how many looks he gets.
Well, Mims is going to start on the outside.
Yeah, but they'll rotate guys. You have to figure.
Well, Moore and Berrios, again, I think they're going to rotate in the slot. So I'm assuming it's going to be Core on the outside, Mims on the outside, Davis Mims, and then Moore and Berrios will play each other off in the slot. And then who knows if Jeff Smith, what he's going to do. But that's what I expect.
Yeah, I mean, with the scheme, you never know because Moore has talked about, and before he got drafted, right, that he's not just a slot receiver.
Oh, sure.
That he can go outside.
They can use him
right?
anywhere.
So they could, right? So if Mims is not doing it, they can put Moore on the outside and put Berrios on the inside, just a way to get the three guys on the field.
All the faith in the world in Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims is going to be just fine. So I think he's going to do well. It's up to Zach Wilson. Zach's got to get him to football.
Well, it's up to the offensive line to
and he's got to get protected. Also. Yes, that's the number one thing. And the team had only kept 3 linemen, so that backups, and that was a little bit surprising. But again, it shows you how you can manipulate. This is the first week that we get to see how the Jets want to manipulate the practice squad rule, where you can bump up players up into the roster and so forth. So we'll see how they handle that because Josh Johnson, of course, is on the practice squad. And even though Mike White is I don't know how that's going to work. They might actually switch it because that's what happens. They might actually put Josh Johnson on the active roster and move Mike White down to the practice squad today. That's what happens all the time. Patriots do it all the time. They put the young kids up all week on the roster. They did it last year. And then once the game starts, they put the veteran up and they move the young kid down to the practice squad. So we'll see what the Jets do. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if Josh Johnson was the backup than Mike White, and maybe the Jets will too. Then the running back situation, Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman will probably get the first reps, and then we'll see how much playing time Michael Carter gets with P. Ryan possibly not making the team because of injury just for week 1.
Yeah, I think I would expect Coleman to be the first guy. I would expect Johnson to get the call also. I think it kind of depends how each of them will look. They'll definitely spot Carter in. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but I do think he'll get some touches. Try to use the speed that he's got to try to create some mismatches also. But Coleman is the one I think, just especially given his ability to pick up blitzes, also will play a big part, right? So if Carolina's really starting to beat the tar out of him on the pass rush, you want a guy in there that can at least help a little bit in terms of chip blocking and things like that, and putting a rookie in that situation is a bit difficult when it comes to Carter.
Okay, as far as the defense, maybe one of the stories that was interesting was the fact that Marcus Maye was not voted a captain. And look, these aren't fans. These aren't the media. These are the players in the locker room. So I don't care. Marcus Maye can say he doesn't care, but that means something to me. he could say that they all respect me. We all respect each other. I don't know. Something's there, and I don't know what it is. But when you have a young secondary group and you got a guy that's supposedly an elite safety that wants to get paid like the best safety in the league, and he's not re-voted captain, that says something to me. Sorry, this does.
Yeah, it was interesting to find out that that was the case. I don't think if you would have asked any of us before the vote took place that if May was not going to be captain, we all would have
No.
said, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yeah.
You're so look. It could be personalities. It could be the young guys with some of the other young guys. Who knows? I mean, look, we both thought that May should have been re-signed 2 years ago when it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper
Yes.
to do it, and they
Yep.
waited and they waited and they waited, and now look. If he has another big year, I think they can franchise him one more time, and
One
then
more
they end up
year.
losing him, right? So, and they were grossly far apart last year in terms of their valuations of where they should be, right? May, as you said, wants to get paid like one of the more elite safeties, and the Jets wanted to pay him as one of the more middling type safeties based upon the numbers that kind of came out. So there's a vast gap that has to get bridged between the two sides before they can even think about getting a long-term deal done.
And by the way, keep this in mind. If they franchise him one more year, the year after that, I believe, would be his 8th year in the league. That's
Yep.
when you start saying to yourself, maybe not. You know, he's only got another year or two left in his prime. Go ahead. Time for you to go. So, up front, it's going to be about Shaq Lawson and Quinnen Williams. Those are going to be the big stories based on the fact that we haven't seen much of Quinnen Williams. And with Shaq Lawson becoming the new guy in town, it's going to be important for him to help out in the pass rush. That was a great trade so far, a good trade, it looks like. But this is huge for Quinnen Williams. We haven't seen him. He's also dealing with the injury coming back. Jet fans don't want to hear any excuses. It's time for Quinnen Williams at some point, starting today, by the end of the season, to be a star.
Yeah, I think, well, especially with Lawson out, right? The burden largely falls on him, right? We saw signs last year, right? And Salas talked a lot about making him kind of the centerpiece of the defense, especially now with Lawson out. Williams, we think, has all the talent. Look, we saw Leonard Williams go elsewhere and blossom. I don't think any of us thought that it was possible that Williams was going to take that kind of a leap, even elsewhere. Now with
Hey.
Quinnen Williams here, look,
Yeah,
we
but
all
it
love.
shows
Look,
you
I
what
love.
happens when you leave and change scheme and you change
Right.
coaching
Look, we
staff. Anything can
both wanted
happen.
Williams. We both wanted Williams to stay. I happen to like him a lot. I thought he was undervalued. He wasn't getting the sacks necessarily, but part of that was the way in which he was used. Now the new system
Oh,
that Ulbrich
absolutely.
that Ulbrich has put in place,
Attack.
hopefully maximize the talent
Yes.
that Williams has and gives him the opportunity. And especially now with Lawson out, there's going to be a lot more dependence on him to do a bit more than was expected previously because he doesn't have that elite guy or somewhat hopefully elite guy to fall back on where now he's the main target.
And then we got the rookies out there. You got Sherwood. You got Nasruldeen. You're gonna have Brandon Eccles. How much Isaiah Dunn plays. Michael Carter's going to get a lot of playing time. But more importantly, it's got to be the veterans because we haven't really seen much out of LaMarcus Joyner yet. Javelin Guidry, they loved. And so he's not a veteran, but, so he has to do his job. They're talking up Bryce Hall. I still have yet to see it. So let's hope. And I must say this because this is important. How Joe Douglas left it off with Bless Austin. Okay, I am the biggest Joe Douglas fan, as you know, but I am sick of these excuses. All right, just don't say anything. I'd rather Joe Douglas, when they're asked about players when they leave like that was our decision, move on. I don't want to hear, well, he would have been a backup, and because we want to do him well, we're going to send him somewhere off, give him an opportunity to start somewhere else. But we really like him. It's total bullshit. They don't like him. There's something about Bless Austin the team doesn't like. Otherwise, you put him as a backup. You don't just go, go ahead, you're going to be a number 2, so I'd rather you start on another team. He could have been picked up by the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Bills. You're okay with that? Yeah, because they don't like him. So that's just total nonsense. And that's why you know what, Joe? Don't say anything. Just say it was a business decision. I'm going to leave it at that. You sound stupid when you say things like that. And remember when Bless Austin was waived, the first thing I said, has to be personal. And what I meant by that is it's not his talent, but I bet you they were probably going to move him to a backup role or a part-time role, but they felt he probably would have been a cancer if they would have put him in that role, and that's why they let him go. Because that's not what the Jets are about. They don't want guys that are going to cause issues if they're not happy being starters. I can't think of any other reason.
No, I think we both think it has to be personal. Look, I think we both were pretty surprised in general to let him go. I think originally we thought he actually might be a starter. We liked when they grabbed him late a couple of years ago that we thought there was substantive upside there, and he parlayed it into being a starter, which kind of came as a surprise a little bit. And now then we got kind of blindsided to a certain extent because I don't think any of us saw it coming.
Even the players are blindsided.
Yeah. So clearly, I think also agree with you that is a personality issue associated there as opposed to a talent issue. They made a decision. Both of us don't necessarily agree with that decision, but they wanted to go with the kids, and they were afraid that maybe he would be a locker room cancer or somebody who would not mesh in terms of what they wanted to do within the system overall in terms of combination of players and combination of personalities.
Yeah. So yeah, again, Joe, next time just don't elaborate on those situations. It makes you it's not a good look. Keep in mind too, there are a few players that are going to be on the Jets roster this year that we need to keep an eye on. Not only Quinnen's brother, which is kind of interesting. By the way, the kid was talented. So and he's still young. So maybe they've got a special teams demon. Maybe they got a good backup. We'll see. The other kid is the Tim Ward from Kansas City. And let's keep in mind, Kansas City has a pretty good defensive line. The Jets benefited with John Franklin Myers because of that kind of crowded Ram defensive line. Ward, not as talented, wasn't drafted the way Franklin Myers was, but still, he's an FCS player. He needs a little time to develop. So, we'll keep an eye on some of these guys because they might get some playing time today, especially Tim Ward. It'll be interesting to see if he actually makes the final roster today or the practice squad, but somebody's going to play, and that means Bryce Huff, Jonathan Marshall might play, or Tim Ward might play. One of those or two of those. Well, we know Huff's playing, but Marshall or Ward, one of those two probably plays today.
Probably. I mean, you may even see both of them get in. It all depends on kind of the rotation. We have no idea how Ulbrich and Sala and those guys are going to do the rotation in terms of defensively. And especially with Lawson being out, who's going to get the majority of snaps, how they're going to rotate guys, how they're going to pair combinations, all that stuff we're all starting from new, right? So kind of be interesting to kind of get a sense today in terms of what that's going to be.
Yeah, I think what it'll be is on passing downs, Franklin Myers is going to move inside for Folo, and then Huff replaces Myers on the outside. That's going to be your standard look, and we'll see Rankins will probably get a considerable, and Shepard will probably get a considerable amount of playing time as well. Especially with Quinnen Williams, who I don't know if I think he had about 56 snaps percentage last year, week 1. 3 out of the first 4 games for Quinnen Williams last year. He didn't play a lot. And considering he's coming off the injury, that's probably what's going to happen again, too. I don't think they're going to force feed him too much. That means we're going to see a lot of fresh players. And I think that's going to be, for the most part, maybe all season. I just think this is going to be a different rotation, just like you were talking about. They're going to use a lot of guys.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so we'll see how it all goes. What do you have a guess? Do you have what's your feeling, your gut tell you about whether the Jets, whether or not after the game ends, you're going to have a good feeling about today's game?
I think we'll see some good things from Zach Wilson. I think we'll see the rookie struggles, which is going to be expected. I think Corey Davis has a pretty good game today for them. I think the offensive line is mixed in terms of some good and some bad. A little concerned about Becton, to be brutally honest with you, given what I've seen so far. And Veritaka literally hasn't gotten any preseason snaps at all. So it's going to be interesting getting really thrown into the fire defensively.
Brian Burns against Mekhi Becton. Uh-oh, watch out.
Yeah. Defensively, I think it's going to be a slog, right? Losing Lawson is a pretty material impact. We can spin it all we want, but that was the guy, especially presuming what we saw in the preseason was going to carry forward. That's a pretty big loss. I think the pass rush is going to struggle, which is going to give Darnold a bit more time than we hope. Which will give him the opportunity to complete a lot of passes on a suspect secondary.
So it's going to be a long game then.
I don't know. I think they'll do some good things. I think they'll on the road. Darnold or Anderson kind of revenge game. I think they are going to get beat something long like 27-17, something along those lines.
So
I'm
it'll be
hoping I'm
over
wrong, but
by
it's
the
kind of
mid
my
fourth
gut.
quarter.
What's that?
It'll be over by mid fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or they could be in it and give up like a late score to kind of bolster the end score, and that'll be kind of the death knell. One of those where we've talked about 3rd and 5, need to get a stop late in the game. Don't they go down, kind of hit a chippy field goal or something to make it a 10-point game or something like that.
All right. I mean, I think look, I think it's all about Sam Darnold. To me, I think if more than Zach Wilson, because we pretty much know what rookies do, and I think Zach might have an okay game, but like you said, he can make mistakes too. I think it's going to be all about, is Sam Darnold going to play one of those I'm going to stick it to you games, and if that happens, it's going to be a long game for the Jets. If he doesn't, and I think we'll know early. I think we'll know in the first quarter. We might know in the first 2 series of the game how things are going to go. Otherwise, if Sam has a up and down kind of bad game, I think the Jets win. All right, so we'll talk more about this at some point. Not sure what our schedule is going to be. It's up in the air because this is the first time we're doing a game day morning show. So maybe we'll return later with a post-game show. That's up in the air. If not, it could be some other show later in the week. Could be Monday, Tuesday. Could be back to game day because the Jets play the Patriots next week on Sunday.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, and that's the home game. All right, Jan, appreciate it. Thanks for getting up about 5 minutes early to do the show. And how many hours of sleep did you get?
A little. I was up writing late last night and have a bunch of stuff I got to get done this morning. Something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, finish a coffee, and I'll talk to you again. Who knows? I'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.